Hello viewers, in this video we are going to discuss a different type of indexing methods in index file organization. An index in an index file organization is a data structure that organizes the records on disk to optimize certain kinds of retrieval operations efficiently. An index allows us to efficiently retrieve all records that satisfy search conditions on the search key field of the index. As well, we can create additional indexes with different search keys to speed up search operations on a given collection of data records. There are a number of index methods are there. We can classify indexing methods as a primary index, a secondary index, clustered index, and unclustered index, where a primary index can either be dense or sparse index, and usually secondary index used to be dense index. Okay, let us now discuss a primary index. If an index is created on the primary key field of the table, then it is known as primary index. Okay, since there used to be only one primary key for a table stored in a data file, we can create only one primary index for every table in a disk. Okay, and if you look at this example, here this is the table stored in data file. In this first field is the primary key field, and if you look at the entries in the index file, and these entries are created based on the primary key field of the table. That's why this index file is known as a primary index. And here, if the data file is sorted with the primary index, then this data file is also known as indexed sequential file. Since this data file is sorted with primary index, then that's why this data file is also called as indexed sequential file. Okay, and usually this primary index either be dense index or sparse index. Let us now discuss how primary index can be classified as a dense. Okay, a primary index can be classified as a dense when it contains an index entry for every record in the data file. Okay, if you look at this example, this primary index file contains one entry for every record in the data file. Okay, that's why it is known as a dense index. Since this dense index contains one entry for every record in the data file, it is used to achieve efficient search and retrieval operation. But the main drawback of this method is that the size of the index file it is it is more and more memory space is required to be stored. Okay, that's why since it requires more space to store index file itself, um, it is not memory efficient. Okay, and coming to the order of records in the data file and the order of entries in the index file, you can notice that both the order is equivalent. That's why this index file is also called as clustered indexing. Okay. However, since there is one-to-one the correspondence between the entries in index file and data file, this index it is no, it is used to speed up the equality search. Okay, coming to sparse index, where primary index also can be called a sparse index, right? So whenever the primary index contains one index entry for each block of data records, then by the time primary index can be called as sparse index. Okay, here if you look at this example, the table consists of three fields where the first field is the primary key field, right? So if we look at the entries in the index file, these entries are created based on the primary key field of the table. That's why it is known as primary index. Okay, but coming to the number of entries in the index file, it contains one index entry for each block of data records. For example, this entry 12 points to the first record in the first block and 45 points to the first record in the second block. Okay, that's why this primary index is known as sparse index. As well, you can notice that the order of records in the data file, the order of records in the index file are close to each other. Okay, so that's why this index file is also known as clustered index. Okay, though the number of index entries are less, since the records are clustered, this sparse index uh, it uh, it is very efficient in performing range search also, because that it helps to achieve the range search very efficiently. Okay, coming to secondary index, if the index is created on the field other than the primary key field, that is, that can be any candidate key or non-key field with duplicate values, then that index is known as secondary index. Since there can be more than one candidate key and a number of non-key fields available in a data file, multiple secondary indexes can be created for the same data file. Okay, so if you look at this example here, it contains three fields where first field is the primary key field, right? But when we look at the index file entries are not made based on the primary key field. Since these are based on name field, which is not the primary key field, this index file is known as secondary index. Okay, usually the secondary index is used for creating two-level index. Okay, the first level index is also known as primary level index, which is usually be stored in main memory. It is stored in main memory in order to optimize the retrieval process. Okay, coming to secondary level index of a secondary index, the entries in the index and the number of records in the data file are same. Okay, so that's why the secondary index is also known as a dense index. As well, you can notice that the order of a record stored in the data file, the order of entries in the index file are not same. Okay, here the first entry is having Abhi, but the first record is having the search key value Abhi. But coming to second entry, both are not same. And coming to third entry also not same. So since the order of data entries in index file and records in data file are not same, this index is also known as unclustered indexing. Let's now discuss the concept of creating additional indexes with different search keys for the same data file. Okay, here, if you look at this example, there are two index files are created, and let us take the this index file. Since this index file is created based on the primary key field of the table stored in data file, it is known as primary indexing. And also, since number of entries in this index file is smaller than the number of entries in data file, it is known as sparse index. As well, you can notice that the order in which the records are stored in a data file, the order in which the data entries stored in index file are close to each other. That's why this index is also known as clustered index. Whereas coming to the this index file, this data entries are it is based on the non-primary key field, that is name field of the table stored in data file. That's why it is known as secondary index. As well, you can notice that there is an entry for every record stored in the table in data file. That's why it is known as a dense index. Okay, and also you can notice the order in which the data entries in the index file and the order in which the records stored in the data file are not similar. That's why it is known as unclustered index. Okay, students, in this video we learned about different indexing methods. If you find this video useful to you, kindly subscribe this channel. Thanks for watching.